Phil Mickelson just recently came forward and said that he brought a $1 billion sponsor and had a plan for 8 elevated events to PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan right before he joined LIV Golf, but had the idea dismissed. Did PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan turn down a game-changing billion-dollar offer from a current PGA Tour partner? To find out, keep on watching this video. Phil Mickelson has made it crystal clear that he strongly believes if the PGA Tour leadership had latched on to some of Mickelson's ideas to emphasize its marquee players, it wouldn't find itself in the position of contending with LIV Golf. Also, to take it a step further, the upstart Saudi circuit wouldn't have come into existence at all. It is fellow player Phil Mickelson who was the first big star to jump to LIV while also becoming the initial lead plaintiff in the lawsuit against the PGA Tour over antitrust violations. Phil Mickelson, along with 6 others from the original 11 players in the lawsuit, have since withdrawn their names, and while LIV Golf joined the suit, the 5-time major winner is happy to point out that he had similar ideas that the PGA Tour is now using. Moreover, many of the new changes on the PGA Tour are things that Mickelson had been championing, like the Player Impact Program, big increases in prize money, and as now the new elevated events, which will become small field. There are no-cut tournaments next year. The 6-time major champion saw the threat of CEO Greg Norman's LIV Golf as a bargaining chip to bring about change, stating that last year, as nice a guy as Jay Monahan comes across as, unless you have leverage, he won't do what's right, and the Saudi money has finally given us that leverage. Monahan said the tour started evolving and innovating long before LIV became a legitimate threat, as supporting evidence when Jay Monahan said that the tour's frequent hinting with the FedEx Cup playoff structure, its partnership with popular streaming platform Netflix, and its decision to resume conducting tournaments at the height of the pandemic, and before ultimately concluding, to me, the credit goes to all of our players out there and also goes to our fans. We have listened to our fans, and we have responded, and we are returning to our fans what they have told us they wanted. It was a nice sentiment, but also not entirely complete because, of course, LIV played a role in forcing the tour's hand. Recently, Mickelson added a new wrinkle to the saga when he claimed, via a tweet, that before he had committed to LIV, he had recruited a sponsor to underwrite the series of said elevated events for the PGA Tour that sounds shockingly similar to the designated events schedule the PGA Tour will institute next year. Phil said, "Before I left, I brought a $1 billion commitment from the present PGA Tour partner to have 8 elevated events and to give equity and the ownership in these events to the players." Jay Monahan's quote was, "I don't believe the league is going to happen, so we won't be doing that. No vote, no discussion." A year ago in February, Mickelson, not yet having announced he was heading for LIV Golf, took on the PGA Tour in an interview with Golf Digest at the Saudi International, which ultimately ended up blaming the American circuit's obnoxious greed for opening up chances for rival leagues. At the time, Phil Mickelson pointed to the players being unable to control their media rights and images. He has noted at the time how the golfers were not going to be paid to appear in the first season of the Netflix series Full Swing, while adding in by saying, "But the tour is getting paid a lot of money, as is Augusta National, and as is the USGA. However, if the players had their own channel and maybe they put up their own content, we start to see golf presented a bit more intimately." Mickelson later said, "It's not public knowledge, all that goes on. But the players don't have access to their own media. Also, if the tour wanted to end any threat from Saudi or anywhere else, they could just hand back the media rights to the players. But they would instead throw $25 million here and $40 million there, then give back the $20 billion in digital assets they control. Or they could give up access to the $50+ million they make every year on their own media channel." Phil Mickelson then became embroiled in controversy for the comments attributed to him by writer Alan Shipnuck, who was writing an unauthorized biography on the golfer. Also, the 45-time tour winner removed himself from competition for the next 4 months and missed both the Masters and his title defense of the PGA Championship before returning to competitive golf in June for LIV Golf's inaugural event in London. Also at LIV's tournament in Saudi Arabia in October, Phil Mickelson stated, "I firmly believe that I'm on the winning side of how things are going to evolve and shape in the coming years for professional golf. We play against a lot of the best players in the world on LIV, and there are a lot of the best players in the world on the PGA Tour. And until both of the sides sit down and have a conversation and work something out, both sides are going to continue to change and evolve. In the year plus since Phil Mickelson's mutiny and his subsequent defection to LIV, you can clearly understand if he has felt pangs of "I told you so" satisfaction. We can also go over the legitimacy of Mickelson's media rights beef, which virtually all sports leagues own their players' media rights, but his overarching point where too much money was flowing into the PGA Tour's coffers and not quite enough into the star players' pockets is now being addressed with sweeping changes. When in September of last year the Tour first announced plans for designated events and richer purses for the best players, Mickelson said, "I did not say I felt vindicated. I said I felt happy for the guys, which they have a voice and they are being valued, and they're being heard, and changes are being implemented to show that appreciation. As that hasn't been the case, and it hasn't had to be the case because there was no other option. Now, there can be another option, and its impact has resulted in a seismic shift in how the world's best expert golf players are compensated, to the tune of $415 million in prize money in 2023, and also another nearly $150 million in bonuses. Now take this week at TPC Sawgrass alone, where the players will compete for a share of $25 million purse as well as a $4.5 million winner's check, and those numbers represent increases from just 5 years ago of roughly $14 million and around $2.5 million. And as Joel Dahman recently tweeted, "It's a good time to play better." Can Mickelson take credit for that? Not wholly, but he undoubtedly has played a role. So while some will doubt whether this claim is true, the sentiment of change being forced through by LIV no doubt holds true, as the speed and size of the changes by the PGA Tour could prove that they could have been made sooner. The likes of Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy had admitted that the emergence of LIV Golf had forced the PGA Tour to have a rethink, and now the results have been to make changes Mickelson would have been very much welcomed before he joined LIV. There have been many LIV Golf players that have pointed out the irony in the PGA Tour changes mirroring what their company regularly does. You wonder whether Mickelson would have achieved even some of the changes he wanted and whether it would have taken off in the first place. Now, what cannot be argued against is the monumental impact LIV Golf has had on the game, and even if it has come at a cost, and with the sport split into factions that at the moment express no desire or any capability of healing the rifts that now exist. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments. If you liked today's video, then make sure to leave us a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to always be updated with the most exciting content as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon in another video.